You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 episode 150. Hey, I gotta apologize. I gotta apologize for a couple things. Sorry, boys. We'll get into the introductions, but I gotta get this off first. So first off, I apologize. There wasn't a show last week because I needed a break. Ultimately, that's what it was. I needed a break. I took a break. We didn't do a show. The second thing, and thank you to the millions of listeners that we have, because you all messaged me and told me, apparently none of our episodes have been uploading to Spotify lately. So there's a bunch of people that are smashing on doors because they don't get to listen to us, which is nice to hear. I'm not going to lie. So this weekend, I'm going to devote some time into figuring that out and how to get all the latest episodes up on the Spotify. So apologies out of the way. That's the last time you're going to hear me this show say I'm sorry for anything. Onto the show. We've got our good friend Corey Baker, who you may know that we bring up time and time again, because Corey came on the show way back when we started. And Corey was, you know what? He's the type of friend that really doesn't hold anything back. He tells you exactly how it is, and we appreciate it. So Corey is the person that says, you know what? I think an hour is a bit too long for a podcast. So anyways, we're bringing Corey back. It's been way too long, buddy, to have you on. Of course, the constant Philly is here. And we're twinsying her up. So for anybody that's not listening, both of us are wearing our Real Geese t-shirts tonight. So
thanks, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. So
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think Craig mailed this to me for whatever reason.
Yeah,
because Craig's good shit.
Sounds like Craig. But Corey, buddy, welcome back. It's been way too long since we've talked. We chat online, but not face to face. It's been way too long, buddy. So welcome. No, of course not. And you know what? It's crazy because we were talking about it before we hit the record button. How fast time is going, because I knew you and your wife were about to have a second child. I didn't realize that the second child was born yet. I thought she was still, as Phil said, I thought the baby was still baking in the oven.
It's on the outside now.
It's on the outside, and it's
the
pooping
egg is hatched.
The egg is hatched and is pooping up a storm. And so
it all functions.
Congratulations, buddy. 2 boys. I would imagine that there's nothing. I would imagine that in 4 years there will be nothing safe unless it's made out of cast iron.
I already say this all the time. My 2-year-old son, the second he goes to junior kindergarten, I know I'm going to be getting many talks to from the teachers. And I really don't look forward to the time when he goes to a petting zoo with his school.
So I will give you
and makes his little hunting sounds with it. I'm like, yeah, that is my boy, but that's going to be an issue later on in life, I'm sure. So
I'll give you a leg up, Corey. Don't teach your kid to high five to the face. I got spoken to.
You know, Corey, that's pretty interesting. So for people that don't know who Corey Baker is, so his real job, his daytime job, is that he's, and it's probably the wrong word for Corey, but you take care of nuisance wildlife, right?
Yes, yeah. The fancy name to that one, wildlife management specialist.
What? That's quite the handle.
Yeah. We bring it down a level or two. I pick up the animals from the road sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's interesting because, like, I know, like, your boy, so Fox right now, like he's involved, like he's with you Like he's out around the door with you. You don't hide anything away from him. Like he sees all the things that you see. Um, so yeah, I want to know how that petting zoo trip goes. Like
Yeah, well,
be-
I'll sign up to be like one of those little mentions.
chaperones. Yeah.
Yeah, chaperones. Yeah, yeah. And I'll just sit back and watch though. That's
Yeah.
for
Hey,
sure.
hey,
I'm not gonna
Dad,
stop
can we
anything.
can we eat these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey
Yeah.
Dad. Hey
Yeah.
Dad, remember the time we found one of these with its brains outside of its head? Yeah.
He as I said, he's two. He already knows where his food comes from.
Amazing.
He's out there right away with me, like, and it's great that I'm starting him out so young because he has no fear for any of this stuff that we
Of
do
course.
because it's just
Yeah.
it's firsthand for him. It's all natural. So before he was even two, he's walking around picking up our ducks that we brought home with us,
Yep.
and he wanted to help clean right away. And so I go, that's perfect. He's going down that right path of he's gonna know exactly where all that stuff comes from. We're not sugarcoating it with him.
No.
It's that life we live in, and even now he's in the garden with me all the time. We're picking all the vegetables that's coming up right now, and he's picking ones that he shouldn't be also, which is the bit of frustration. But that's what comes with a 2-year-old running around through a garden, you know.
Well,
So
and he's
yeah.
a boy. Like, listen, like let's not sugarcoat things. Like we aren't the smartest. Like, you know what? Like it's amazing that we actually make it to manhood, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
you know, if
Oh,
a
I
couple
question it every day.
if a couple vegetables gets damaged, I tell the story, and I've said it on here before. I had a buddy of mine when Trish found out, like when we found out our first kid was going to be a girl. My buddy asked me, and I said, "Yeah, I was sort of hoping for a boy." And he said, "Listen, I'll tell you something." He said, "You give a little boy a hockey stick, something's getting destroyed. You give it to a little girl, she's going to learn to play hockey." And it's true, man. Like it is 100% true,
Yeah.
because I can remember when my son was a baby, and I mentioned this to someone. I said, if you want to watch the evolution of man, come to my house, because my son will pick something up, he looks at it, he sniffs it, he tries to eat it. If he can't eat it, it's smash. And I'm like,
Use it as a blunt force object.
I'm like, that's the evolution of man right there. I'm watching Homo sapien cross my
Cro-Magnon.
cross my
All going down
kitchen
in real
floor.
time.
Yeah, yeah. So no, but it's awesome. It's pretty amazing. We were really coddling of our kids. Like I didn't take my kids out and do that kind of stuff. Like me and my wife, we coddled our kids pretty good when it come to that stuff. Now, cleaning ducks and cleaning trout and stuff, I always did that kind of stuff, but I didn't, not to the extent that you're doing it. You know what I mean? So,
He just follows us around, and it's going to be the same with the second boy. They're just have him follow you around, and
yeah,
that's what I'm really enjoying now because he's at the age now, especially where we ride our mini dirt bikes together, and
that's crazy.
he does all those fun things that, again, I always wanted to do that when I was younger. So now that I am a dad, I'm like, perfect. Now we
Yeah.
get to have a lot of fun because now I can afford these fun toys for you. So we're gonna go, yeah, decked him out in all his little protective gear, and he jumps on that mini bike, and he's just gone with me.
At 2 years old, eh?
Two, yeah, just over two, and he's doing good. So yeah, he's by next year, I'm like, oh yeah, he'll be doing jumps and backflips. I can promise that. We'll see.
Sick
Yeah.
ramps. We
Yeah,
hitting
and
some sick ramps.
yeah, and he follows me through work, which is hilarious. He'll if I ever get called out in the afternoon, I'll just have him tag along with me, and I'm like, yeah, just don't touch that animal that's in that cage. It's not a pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he'll only
Yeah.
do it once too.
This is true.
That's a self-correcting problem.
Yeah, but again, I still have to come home and explain myself. So
Yeah.
Dear
Uh,
wife.
Yeah, dear
Yeah.
wife.
yeah,
No, but Core, like we were saying before, like I forget what it was like to have two small kids around, right? Like my daughter will soon be 18. She's going into grade 12. My son just graduated, like he's going into high school now next year. I forget the amount of time and attention that when you're without children and you're just pretty laxy daisy, you can go and come and do whatever you please. And then when they come in and there's a change, right? And I forget it. So, as I'm talking to you and I'm like, hey man, I haven't seen you do a whole lot with photography lately. Like, what's going on? And you're like, well, dude, I got a new kid. Like, I can't go sit on the bank of a river for 6 hours now taking pictures of ducks. Like, I got to get home and look after my kid, right?
And I'm fortunate. The wife, she'd be like, just go take your photos. I got it. It would kill me though. I couldn't do that. Like I'd sit there the whole time just being guilty, being like, well, I'm not doing a damn thing besides relaxing right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not even pick your battles. It's just enjoy it while they're young right now.
Absolutely.
Photography, that's always going to be my passion. I'll always have that. Right
Yeah.
now, thing is, I love spending time with the boys now. It's weird
Yeah.
for me to even say that, but Fox especially, he's glued to me. The second I'm home, it's what are we doing, where are we running, and he just wants to race me outside and do something outdoors, which is fantastic. But yeah, the whole sitting around, relaxing, taking photos. I went, all right, that's going to slow down a little bit right now,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's the off season. I'm prepping
Of
myself
course.
for hunting season. There's lots going on in the works there for that, and that'll be here before we know it anyway. So
Absolutely.
right now, yeah, I'm just working it full time, soak up as much as I can outside of work, and hang out with that family that we created now. So there's 4 of us. It's awesome. So
That's amazing.
you know,
I want to ask you a question because I'm hoping you have some insight into it. Ammo shortage. What's going on? Like, where's all the ammo, dude?
well, stateside right now, I just had a good friend come down from the States there, and he's like, every shelf is stocked just south of the border right now.
Okay.
And we even looked at it like, okay, I believe we can basically bring up under 5,000 rounds, no problem, from what we can see.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why are they getting stopped up here? And especially for even finding 12 gauge ammo, it's somewhat readily available in most of your shops that you're looking for. But me and most of the guys in our group, we're all 20 gauge shooters. And
Yeah.
even Andy, he's now going even sub gauge, 28 gauge is what he's been shooting now for the last little bit.
Yeah.
Good luck finding any of those loads around, and especially in a steel load for waterfowl coming up. So it's been searching long and hard to find good stock of anything you can get your hands on, and then when you do find it, don't even look at that price tag right now.
Yeah, just do it,
Just
eh?
eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Billy, what are you seeing? Like, because you started to dip into the 28 gauge last season. You've been shooting 20 for ages, but and I know Dave was looking at 28 gauge and he was even thinking about reloading his own because he couldn't find any. But even going that route, it okay, you're not saving any money, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Oh God, no, no. This is not a poor man's sport by any means. Well, I managed when I first got my 20. This would be the 3rd season, I guess. I managed to find a source for like some cheap steel loads.
Yep.
So I bought a couple boxes, and then the price went up a couple bucks a box. I'm like, oh crap! So I bought a couple more boxes just to have on hand. Like I don't shoot it all that much. It's just strictly small water ducks. That's it.
For your 28 gauge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I managed to score like one of 5 flats of bismuth in Canada.
So
I shot
5.
One of 5.
What you had to do? You just had to sell your truck to buy that, or what?
I stood on the street corner for days on end.
I would think so, because you're not an attractive man.
No. But yeah, I got lucky and snagged a flat of the bismuth, but like it's strictly a special occasion toy at this point.
Yeah, I would think so.
Like
but it's crazy. But I don't understand. Like, I really don't understand it. Like, so we shoot Challenger now. So we don't have an issue. We shoot Challenger. There's lots of Challenger load. That, like, Challenger is not light on how much they have. There's tons of it. And if you want it, all you got to do is go to your store and say, hey, listen, bring Challenger in. I know they got it. I can tell you, I know they have it. But the other brands is just and Challenger's made here in Canada, so it's a little bit easier to get your hands on it and stuff like that. But when you look at the other brands that are out there, like I just don't understand why it's a shortage. How can I put it? Is the United States, is the Americans buying up everything? Like, are they just buying everything and then what they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
buying is what's getting shipped across the border?
Yeah, like it's the U.S. is the issue because obviously there's like an astronomical amount of more hunters in the States. So
Absolutely.
it
But
gets, it's,
there's always been an astronomical number
yeah.
of hunters in the States, right? We've never
Um,
seen shortages like this.
But guess what? Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Well, I don't
You
know about
gotta
that.
you
Phil,
cater to the mass market
yeah, but
because then
they've always
you're
been
gonna get your
there.
sales.
Yeah, but they've always been there. They've like in the last 2 years, their hunting population hasn't increased that much that it would affect
No,
our ammo sales.
but there was, obviously a reduction in production. That rhymed.
Mm.
So therefore, trying to get caught up, and then there's just fear mongering.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
so they just start buying everything under the sun. They
Mhm.
buy an ammo for guns they don't even have, probably. And then again, because we are such a small market, who suffers? Everyone below. Shit rolls downhill.
Yeah, like when you go into like even like sale, we have a sale not far from my house here in Cambridge, and they had it 1 box per person limit last season.
Yeah.
To
Really?
get your shell. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, well, who's going duck hunting with 1 box?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you?
So
Holy smokes! So you got to take the entire family with you in order
You
pretty
to.
just go
much
back.
get it.
Just go back the next day.
Yeah, yeah. Just keep going every day just to stock up for the weekend. So that's why it's like, heck, we went all the way up to Aurelia to go get shells this season.
Oh
Off to
wow!
Elwood.
At
Yeah,
Elwood
good old
Epps.
Elwood. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they had I think it was like a flat and half of our 20 gauge loads that I was looking for. So it's like, okay, well, looks like I'm spending a lot of money today. And
Wow.
unfortunately, Andy loves driving, was up there already. So he swung by, picked up those, picked up another big flat for himself, and
Andy do
yeah,
like a lot of drive. Like that dude is like sheep shit, man. Like
yeah,
he is everywhere.
dude. Like I don't understand it. Like he'll phone me and he's like, "Oh, I'm in Niagara Falls today," and then half hour later he's like, "Oh, I'm up in Barrie." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? How'd you make it up there?" And he's like, "Oh, we just wanted to go for a drive." Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah, it's
bumped
killer
into
because he
him.
does a lot of scouting, so that's good.
Yeah, I bumped into him at the Wald for Hope dinner. He
Yep.
was there, so that was Peterborough. And then so that would have been when was that? Phil, that was like April,
March.
something like that. But then he was
Before
at
May.
yeah,
Before May.
but so I had seen him because he had come visited us in the refuge at the Toronto Sportsman Show.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. I didn't expect to see Andy. Like not that it's a long drive, but it's still a drive from where he lives up to Toronto. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm at the Wald for Hope show and he's there. I'm just like, dude, like how much do you travel? And he's like, well, it's just a drive. Not a big deal. And I was like, this is awesome. Andy's all over the place. And his wife goes everywhere with him.
I'm just in a boot.
Yeah, I'm just out in the boot.
Yeah, yeah. He that man puts the miles on his vehicle. I'm sure every gas company loves him. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, like just to reiterate back to the ammo thing, like the way things are going, I'm almost half tempted to buy another 12 gauge.
You
Why?
shut your mouth.
Right?
Why?
Yeah, that's
But,
gross. Ew.
Just
no, like yeah. So I'm trying to understand your logic here.
Diversify the portfolio.
But you have
It's
a
more
20.
readily available.
You
As I
shoot
said,
what's
like
available.
12 gauge ammo. It's not hard to come by.
Oh,
Like,
did
I
you
can
say
go
you were going to buy a 12?
Another.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to buy a 20. That's why I
Well,
was
probably
like,
that too.
I wouldn't.
Everybody
Yeah,
needs more of those. Yeah.
yeah.
Because as Corey probably knows, the Ethos Cordoba is in Canada now.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't shoot like the new M2s or anything like that, or the new SB3s. I hope it doesn't shoot as high as the other ones do.
Well, I can speak for the regular Ethos, and she is spot on.
Yeah. because I have the original Cordoba.
Yes,
I
you do.
remember your first season with that.
Yeah, and it's
You've got it, Marco, the Portuguese penetrator. He's got one now too.
Yeah, and Kevin Riddell, he went and picked up one of them as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm just gonna end up buying one off Kevin one of these days, just so I have a backup. Yeah, you can never have enough of them.
No,
This is true.
I haven't had my hands on the new M2 yet, but we're dabbling. I don't know, just trying to budget things.
Well, enough of this Benelli talk. Let's talk Beretta. Just joking.
Through that, I went even old school, right? I'm shooting a 1967 870 Wingmaster, and that's what I ran all of last season, pretty much.
Yeah, but that's like an 870 Wingmaster, like those old gun, like buddy, that was.
Yeah,
I've got my dad's from. My dad bought his brand new in 75.
I bet you that gun on the open market right now is worth a lot of money, because those old Wingmasters, man, you can't find those anymore.
Fucking
this is the Magnum as well, so it's a 3-inch.
Ooh.
So and of course it came with the full 28-inch fixed full. So
Yep.
I had a local gunsmith actually bore it out for me.
Okay.
So then it's basically an improved modified.
Yep.
And patterned it basically specifically for running number 2s out of it. And
nice.
The thing throws such a good pattern. That's why I left the fancy guns in the gun safe all last season and started running around with this old school Wingmaster.
I wanted to bring that up because I remember watching you a couple years ago, Core, and this is why certain people I listen to what they say, because I know it's not just they're flying by the seat of the pants. Like there's a lot of thought put into it. And when it comes to ammo and patterning your ammo and the gun and stuff, like you have no brand affiliation whatsoever when it comes to ammo. Like you really don't give a fuck what ammo it is. You go out, and I remember you and Andy going out and buying a shit ton of ammo and just pattern, and just spend hours shooting at cardboard until you guys found what you said. Okay, this is what works with my gun, and this is what I'm using this fall.
And when it comes and honestly, like, yeah, we spend a lot of time touching that paper. Bless you, Phil. We spend a lot of time. There you go.
Yeah.
Somebody viewed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we spend a lot of time punching paper, patterning those guns, and realistically, we really started focusing more on that when we switched over to 20s from the 12s.
Yeah.
And heck, I haven't run a 12 gauge now in over 10 years. And so it's been many years of picking up different 20 gauges and just tossing different loads down range, different choke combinations.
Yeah.
Finding what works the best. And that's why we can honestly say that we shoot those, nowadays they call them sub gauges. It's a 20 gauge, and we run those all season long. Doesn't matter what we are hunting, it's going to be with the 20 gauge basically. And we've shot everything from eiders on the coast of Massachusetts, and we're shooting all your late season big giant Canadas up here without an issue. Yeah, it all comes down to though knowing that gun, and we put way too much time into this hobby of ours to not head out to that field knowing exactly what's going to happen.
But the thing I like about it is the point that I touched on at first, is that you don't care what the brand is. Like it doesn't matter. Like you have no affiliation. Like you have nothing. Like if the population says brand X is the shittiest shell on the go, you still run it through your gun just so that you can say, yeah,
we have like stacks of boxes of ammo with 1 or 2 loads shot through it.
Yeah.
And they probably won't ever see the light of day just because we go, well, that didn't work properly in what we want. But that's the thing, is no affiliation means we get to play with everything that comes out.
Yeah.
And from the cheap Federals all the way up to your most expensive heavy shots and bismuth and all this kind of stuff, find what works for that gun and run it.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
and you've got two ways of doing about it. Like, you can either pattern your shells to your choke, or pattern your choke to your shell. Like,
Yeah.
you can either buy a bunch of.
Explain that, Phil.
So
Explain
you
it.
can either. So you got your one choke. You find what ammo works well in that choke,
Mm-hmm.
or you have your ammo, your one ammo, and you find what choke works to that ammo. It's like a two-way street.
Yep.
Either go left or right, whatever.
Yep. No. I like it. I just want, in case somebody didn't know what you were talking about there, right?
Like just like Corey, like I've spent the time and the money and have gone through God knows how many chokes and different boxes of ammo, and like even like within an individual brand, because they'll have different weights of shot charges, which varies your speed, like your feet per second of your load, and that can vary so much as well.
I pay no attention to that stuff though.
It's fucking science, man.
I know it's science, and I know there's a reason behind it, but like I really don't pay any. Like I pattern like at the beginning of the season. I'll go out, and I'll put it down range, and I'll punch paper, and I'll see what my gun is doing. And I got a new gun on the way, so I'll really be doing it even more so this year. But shot size is all I care about. Like I could care less about the velocity. I could care less about the weight of because it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, but everyone's different, right?
Yeah. But sometimes I wish, because I'll get in conversations sometimes with people, and people are like, well, it's 1.25 ounce and stuff like this. And I'm sitting there like twiddling my thumbs because I have no idea. Like I can't contribute to the conversation whatsoever because I have no fucking idea about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only gun I actually legitimately haven't patterned yet is my Ethos. It's the only one that I haven't put to paper yet. Well, like I'm still in the process of doing things with that gun and other things and such. But I still got to find a choke that I want to run in it. And when I find said choke, and then I'll start trying to pattern it and see where it goes. But like I know, again, from like when we were at Goose Camp there from Renfrew, when because you were in the other group and I was with Dave's group.
Yep.
Laced a goose at 30 yards, stone dead. Like it wasn't even like I dropped it; it was crippled, like stone dead, 30 yards. So I'm like, okay, well, we might be onto something. So, well, so at some point, maybe this year, maybe next year, I don't know. At some point I'll get around to it. Like in essence, do you really need to pattern a gun if you're shooting things at 20 yards or less? No. It's just nice to know what the gun can do. Yeah. Like I've got like my M2 20 gauge. I've got no qualms dropping geese at 40 yards or less. Like that's my comfort zone, and she go no further.
It really is like, you'll hear fellas say all the time, anybody, what's the best gun to use? What's the best choke to use? All this, like people ask these questions, right? And a lot of times,
Please refer back to the Matt Pomeroy episode.
Yeah, but not only that, but and I honestly think that a lot of people ask it because they're just trying to, like, especially on social media, I think they're just trying to drum up some conversation, right? Like they just want to get people talking. They already know the answer. They already know the answer is, well, go out and try it and see what it comes, right? But I think people are just trying to drum up some conversation, and maybe there's a brand or there's something that they'll get educated on that they weren't aware of, right? But at the end of the day, everything is going to be different for everybody. There's no quick fix, right?
No,
do you think that's a fair statement? Like there's no, like Corey and Phil, you can't tell me, well, Damien, you should be shooting this with this choke and this size shot. You can't, because it may not work for me. The gun may not work for me. You know what I mean?
We have even seen two same guns, two same chokes, two same shells, pattern different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no
Wow.
magical like here's the shell, here's the choke, here's the gun. That's the recipe. God bless you all, and that's the end of it. No.
What's Andy shooting, Core?
He is mainly running his Beretta over and under 20 gauge.
Right. I knew that. I
And-
did know that.
And he just picked up the matching version in 28 now.
Mhm.
And so we've been doing we went on a couple pigeon hunts already this summer, and he's been playing with that, and we had him out at my place out here shooting some clays. And it's gonna be one heck of a fun gun. It's just every time I look at him pulling that trigger, I'm like, well, there's $5. Yeah, that's and he right away is like, well, so you're gonna buy a 28 to run this season? And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to, because again, I can't have him be the only one.
Of course.
But that's going to be those intimate hunts, those small water where we know it's all going to be chip shots, because there's not much payload in those little things anyways, first off.
That's right.
And secondly, when you're buying a box of 25 shells for $45, and that's just steel loads, it's like,
yeah, that's insane.
In fairness, Corey, can you put a price tag on memories?
well,
I wouldn't have thought so either, but $45 at 25 shells is it, I think.
Well, in fairness, the steel loads I got, I think I scored like $19 a box, but these were
old
like
school prices.
Yeah, that's
no, this was like 2 years ago, so full height of COVID.
Yeah,
but these were like budget.
Oh,
well, even
steel loads.
Just buying shells right now. The prime example, Winchester Super X's. Those were always the most cost-effective loads you could find around.
Yep.
Basically, it was like $14 to $18 a box.
Yep.
That was just $25.99 a box, and that was the cheap version now.
Well, I won't tell you what I spent on that flat of bismuth then.
Oh, well, that's gonna be
that's just bragging. That's all that is when you.
No, that's just fucking
price.
stupidity.
Yeah,
that is stupidity.
I shot a full flat of bismuth last season.
Yeah.
Out of the 20, out of that old school 870, because you shoot an old school gun, you gotta shoot an old school load. So I did that last season. Yeah. This season, I'm like, all right, what is the cheapest round that's gonna pattern out of that gun?
In fairness, when I was running the Auto 5 Mag 20 for a while there, believe me, my accuracy improved fucking tenfold.
Oh yeah.
Because you pick and choose your shots.
Well,
real good.
And that's what I was going to say. I had Pat Hendricks came on the show there about a month ago, and Pat shoots exclusively bismuth, right? And I sort of started like to rib him a little bit, and I'm like, well, it must be nice to have lots of money. And he's like, well, no, not really. He said, it's not that. It got to do with the fact that he doesn't get out to hunt as much as he wants, and when he do, he wants to have the most success that he can, and he's picking his shots, right? Like shooting bismuth, he's not sky busting, and he's not blasting at teal moving left to right at 50 yards in front of him. You know what I mean? So he's picking his shots a little bit more, and he's having more success. Is he paying more money for a shell? Yes.
Well, but look, here's something that I've kind of thought about. I wouldn't say I came up with it, but just it makes sense. Is you look at your cost per kill.
Yeah.
How many times have you dumped steel loads into the sky? You might so that's 3 loads, that's 1 bird.
Mm-hmm.
But you're conscious running the bismuth because you don't want to be wasting shots, because when every time you pull the trigger, it's just like fucking dollar bills.
Yeah.
In fairness, I honestly think your cost per kill, if you're like a responsible adult, which most of us are not, but we try to be, we act the part.
Yeah.
Your cost per kill is the same, because you've got all those shots you're firing willy-nilly. You got wounded birds. You're firing cripple shots, this and that, where you just pick and choose shots with your bismuth. Your cost per kill is the same.
Yeah. Likely is, and especially
fight me on it. Change my mind, bro.
Hey, I'm full agreement on that one, and it all comes down to realistically is how well do you shoot?
Yeah.
Are you that's type that's going to go out on a duck hunt and run through a box of shells for 6 mallards, or do you walk out of there with basically 8 shells that are spent on 6 ducks, and one of those to kill a cripple that your buddy put down? Yeah. It all depends on how much you're shooting, and And we were just talking about this the other day with Andy, and I mentioned his name a lot, but that's my right hand man when it comes to all this
Yeah,
kind of
of
hunting,
course.
both
Of course.
two peas in a pod. And we've been hunting together for 20 plus years now. Is the big thing. All of a sudden, we talked about it the other day, and it's like 20 years of shooting things together, and you learn a thing or two. And we learn to pick your shots. Like Phil said, pick your shots. Don't be sky blasting things. The big portion of waterfowling that we enjoy the most is working those birds into those decoys. If you're going to tell me we're going to go out and pass shoot a bunch of geese and tell me we're going to shoot 10 guys limits pass shooting, I won't be as excited as you telling me we're going to go sit two guys on a creek and work every flock into that 15-yard range where it's almost too close when you're shooting them, you know? And that's how everybody evolves through those different stages of hunting. It's always been said, you know, you start off really hungry where you just want to shoot, post all those pictures. We're at that stage where it's like, no, I'd rather walk out of there without a full limit and let birds pass that aren't working properly.
Yeah, of course.
And where you're like, one more circle, and they're going to feet down. And they do that one more circle and they're gone. And you're like,
she gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably should have done something. Yeah.
I know. How many times have you said that, eh?
Yeah, that's the stage.
I'm exactly the same as you, Corey. I'd much rather, you know, the call work, me work, the spread work, than the gun work.
Yeah.
Like I want those birds feet down. I can see the whites of their eyes 15, 20 yards. Because I'm like, I've done all the work.
That group settle down into the flock as that rest of it comes in. That's the whole fun.
The gun is the last thing I rely on.
Yep.
No.
It's and heck, most of the time I'm sitting there with my camera in my hand, so I know exactly what that
too
is.
Yeah.
So
but like I want to know, like I had an amazing hide and I was calling and like, you know, reading the birds and working the birds and the spread was right. Like that's all the stuff that I want to take into consideration. Not bragging, oh yeah, I was raining birds at 80 yards. Like fuck yours, sweetheart.
Yeah. Not at 80 yards, but I can tell you that there is nothing gets me more excited than and I totally I get everything that you guys are saying and I totally do. I get it. I just don't think about those things. Like I put my time into my blind. I put my time into hiding. I put my time into scouting. I put my time into everything to practice to make sure I'm a good shot to be the best caller I can be. Probably I could work on my calling, but when it's go time, like once I start seeing like it is 100% tunnel vision. When I start to see birds working, it's like I don't know. I don't hear anything around me. It's just I'm just so focused on that bird. Now I'm not taking 40-yard shots either. I'm not in the business of taking long shots. I'm in the business of when I pull the trigger, I have every intent of dropping that bird, and I know my ability and I know my gun's ability and stuff like that. I don't know, man. Like I just seeing those birds. The most exciting thing I can ever say, and people say, see the whites of the right. When I see a bird spill, there is nothing that gets me as excited as seeing a bird spill air. Dude,
as Wade would say, cupping pumpkins, bro.
Dude, like you have
pumpkins.
no idea. Like there's times like I almost even forget to shoulder my gun. Like I'm watching them and I'm just like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? I just,
buddy, I could stand in a swamp balls deep with a camera every day for the rest of my life.
Oh no, I want to shoot the fuckers. But I
just watching that.
Dude, there is nothing in this world that is as cool as watching a bird spill air. So Cor, this has been a topic I've brought up to a bunch of people so far this year on the show. And I have my theories. And you spend more time out chasing them than what I do. But have you seen any difference in the trends and how birds are reacting, say the last couple years? So number of birds, what I call weird birds that's coming into the area that normally you wouldn't see, and now all of a sudden you're starting to see them. Like, have you seen anything in your part of the province?
Well, depends on where we're going to be hunting, but it's just like it always goes through those phases. Like we're talking equipment, everybody's on A-frames and silos right now,
Right.
and like, hey, I'm fully guilty of that because all I do is run A-frames and silos on every hunt. Like,
Yep.
I think we've been on one hunt with a layout in the last like 3 years, and we try to keep it that minimum because once we started hunting out of A-frames, it's tough getting back into laying in a coffin blind in a field
I
nowadays. Just look
I hear
up.
you.
Yeah, yeah, and even we go, we'd rather have it where if the birds aren't working properly, we'll make it work with the A-frames, and it just works so well for us, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're running monster spreads of silos, that has changed it for us in that sense. But it's like I'm sure in a few years we'll all cycle back to full bodies and socks, and then it'll go back to whatever is the new age thing. But it all depends on I always try to do something slightly different than what everybody else is. So if everybody else is running spinners and this and that and big monster spreads, we go super realistic on our hides and minimal spreads,
Right.
minimal calls. And we like the old school methods like jerk rigs instead of spinners. Like we run spinners in the first part of the season in a field. That's about it. When it comes to any water hunt, you won't find us hunting with a spinner pretty much.
Really, eh?
Everything we do on a water, whether it be geese or ducks, is going to be with a jerk rig, one or two of them at least in a spread. And that motion really kills, and especially come mid-season. Again, everybody's throwing 3, 4 spinners at these birds. They get clued in on that real fast.
I agree with you. I think that the birds get wise to the spinners. I really do.
Yeah.
I have a rig. I have a jerk rig. I think I just need to put a little bit more faith into it as opposed to throwing it out one day, not really seeing any success with it. You know what I mean? And then saying, well, I didn't really see any success with the jerk rig today, and then put it back in the blind bag and not use it again for another month or two, right? I think I got to
Yeah,
put a
like
little bit more faith into it.
it's also cumbersome in the sense that one of your guys now is going to have to be doing motion. That's why when you're using any kind of those jerk rigs, you really got to have a well hidden hide because you are
Yeah.
pulling on that cord as birds are working the spread.
Yep.
And so you got to make sure you're well hidden. But we really found it really working well, especially late season. We hunt a lot of really small public waters around the area that have seen everybody hunting them since opener all the way straight into close.
Mm-hmm.
So they're highly pressured, and we have no issue shooting mallards within feet of us, basically, because we're utilizing those old school techniques that most of these guys don't nowadays.
Yeah.
And especially late season, we laugh. We always talk about running a big spread late season for ducks on a river, and we
Yeah.
have 4 or 5 decoys, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, like we go right minimal, and every bird that we finish though is right in that wheelhouse all the
Yeah.
time. So
Yep.
please just look at what everybody else is doing around you. If it's working, then heck, try
Have
it out.
have you noticed any difference in your numbers of birds?
Last year we had one of our best seasons in numerous
Really?
years. Yep, and we put a hurting on them from early season geese all the way straight through to the very end of the season.
Really?
And whereas before it was our worst year ever, and so it was like a huge difference going in from one season to another. The year before we had that huge stale where it was just warm air that stayed there for heck most of November and December when we needed to be
Mm-hmm.
cold.
Yeah.
And we didn't see our migratory birds, our ducks and our geese, our big push of them until after that season closed and it killed us.
Yeah.
And this season, last season technically, we started that out with a bang. And I'm fortunate, like with me doing the wildlife work, I travel a lot chasing birds, and like my main job from spring till midsummer is chasing nuisance geese with my dogs.
Yeah.
So I see where there's problematic areas. So I'm fortunate. I get to know landowners in those
Of
areas where
course.
there's
Of course.
issues, and it really pays for us. And heck, I was even hunting on a job site of mine last season. They never allowed hunting ever since they ran this factory. And
Yeah.
last year was the first year they ever let anybody hunt it. And my goodness, we did it real well out of there on numerous hunts. I think we shot probably 250 geese just on that property alone
Wicked.
last year. So, and which helped me in work because it does remove those problem birds for them as well. So it all
Yeah.
pays. But
And
yeah, no, last year was the only thing that affected us last year was that drought that we had midsummer.
yeah.
And that dried up a huge percentage of our really killer duck spots. They just went all dry and there's nothing to them. So that one hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But it really pushed those birds to wherever you found water, you know you were going to be into the birds. And that's
Yeah.
what we focused on. It was just
I
we went
found
to random spots.
I found the number of geese, like I still don't, if anything, the goose population up here is increasing. And I know down in southern Ontario, especially down around, the GTA and those areas, it obviously is, right? Because you've got birds that are just hanging around all year long. They're just
Yeah.
reproducing
Oh,
and they're just hanging
they don't
around, right?
migrate.
Yeah, they don't
No,
migrate,
Don't
right?
migrate.
They just
They
hang.
they
They
do
just
two
hang around.
things: feed and fuck.
Yeah. So,
That's it.
but my thing, because I really don't care about geese. Like I like going to shoot them, but ducks are my thing. And last year, I don't think, I'm not sure if we seen a migration last year. But, and I gotta say, I'm not saying the migration didn't happen. I'm saying that I think the migration, they just flew right by us. Like I don't think they came down. I don't think they hung around. I think they just kept on keeping on and just kept heading south, right? Like we normally have little bit of a lull, like October to mid-November. There's a little bit of a lull there for ducks, but then once mid-November into the first week of December, like it's game time on again, right? Like that's when we start to see those big fat mallards coming in. And dude, we just didn't. I don't think we seen them, and people could argue with me, and say that they were there, and they could very well have been. They just weren't there where I was, I guess. And I just and I keep hearing more and more about wonky birds showing up, right? Like I've heard stories of cinnamon teal being around here. I hear the snow geese are coming closer now, like they're getting further and further west of that Quebec and Ontario border, which was always like that was it. That was the corridor, right? Like if you
Well,
wanted to
last
hunt
season we
snows,
shot our first two Ross geese ever last
really.
year. Yeah, two mature Rosses. While scouting a spot, I found about 700 Canadas, and there was two Ross geese with that
Wow.
whole group of birds. And got the permission on the property the night before. We swung in there that morning. The first group of birds was about 40 Canadas, and those two Rosses at the very back.
Wow.
Not a single Canada was hit. Yeah, we rolled those two Rosses, and everybody just stopped shooting, and we were like, it's like nobody want any of those other birds. No,
No,
nobody
no,
even
no,
cared.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's they're in our freezer going up on our walls. Those birds. So
Yeah, of course they
those
are.
are always the odd one. But even last year we shot pintails, which I haven't shot a pintail in this area in probably 10 years. And
Yeah.
on one hunt we shot two or three of them.
So I'm gonna
those
the place that and Phil, I've taken you there on opener. Usually my opener spot, um, you're shooting nothing but green wing teal. That's
Oh,
usually
it's teal
yeah,
mecca.
yeah, it's teal mecca, right? And last year, I bet you I hunted that place a dozen times from and never seen a green wing teal, not one. So it's just weird. Now there was we did get buzzed by a couple blue wings, and I always find teal, and this is me, I find teal decoy so nice for me. They've always decoyed nice for me. But even the blue wings that we would see, they just buzz us like they wouldn't decoy. I never seen any green wings. Just seen some blue wings buzz us. Like it's weird, and which I guess at the end of the day, it's what makes us love it so much is because it's never the same, right? Like I always say, we're chasing after something that's got a brain the size of a pea, but yet they outsmart us all the time.
Oh, every day.
Make us humble, and then when you think you got them figured out, they'll just throw you for a fucking make you look like a fool and do something completely opposite of what you thought they were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's why I love it too. Though. That's
Yeah,
why we keep doing it.
absolutely.
Yeah. And when
How
they
many
That's what
times-
drives us crazy.
Like how many times, and you brought it up, like how many times have you been in the blind, bent over onto your call, you know, trying to watch what they're doing without showing your pie face, and watch them circle and go, one more time, they're going to do it, they're going to do it, they're going to do it, and then they fuck off, and you're like, man, we should have took that shot. Shit, how many times have we said that? Or
All of them.
or you take the shot and said, should have let them do it one more time. They probably would have done it for us if we would have let them circle one more time.
It all depends on the hunt, but one of the classic lines is like, all right, boys, like bird in hand, like if there's a flock of 15 and there's 2 birds that are in front of that, just shoot those 2 birds. Like, don't try to get greedy. Those 2 birds will be dropping in, and we're still going, okay, bird in hand theory. And as they're in range, we're like, let's win. And then they all burn us.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Some
Like,
days we go, all right, so many shots.
it's wild, man. I love it. It's amazing. And there's nothing like it. And I don't know, man. You would think after 150 episodes of this show, and we don't reinvent the wheel every time we do the show. Like, we talk about the same thing every episode.
Pretty much.
The same thing every episode, and people still come in and listen to it. And I think I think that's the difference with duck and goose hunters, is that you can talk about the same thing, but it's always different. Like, there's always one little thing that you could have changed, or someone is listening to us and they're like, man, what are they doing up there? Like, that's ridiculous. This is how it's done down here. And you know what I mean? And you go back and forth. Like, I can remember going to PEI. I had Steve Segulik with me, and we were like, what in the hell is going on down here? Like, just the way they hid and stuff like that. But that's the way it works for them. And what works down there doesn't mean it works up here, right? And it just, that's the beauty about it. I don't know. I love it, and I love coming on this show every week and talking to people about it, because it's just, I don't know. There's something about it
that's why I enjoy so much of the aspect of meeting up with new people for waterfowl. It's not deer hunting where you sit by yourself quietly in a tree. That is fun, sure, but waterfowling is where it's at for hang out with your buddies, shoot the shit all day, and still have a lot of fun at it.
It's a social aspect.
Yeah, of course it is. But the thing I like about it is that you can talk. When I used to smoke, you could have a cigarette, you could sit down, you could smoke. Oh, here they come. Put your cigarette out, pick up your gun, and especially for geese, right? Because you see them coming a million miles away. But that whole thing of sitting in a tree stand, being motionless for 8 hours out of the day, that doesn't appeal to me. Good on you if that's something you're into. Just for me, I don't have the attention span to pull that off at all.
Every night right now, I'm watching a batch of a group of bucks. They're probably on my field right now, and there's a few dandies already coming out of there, and there's 5 or 6 of them every night in my field. And it's like, am I gonna buy a deer tag? Probably not. No.
Let them grow.
It's crazy, right? It's but then, you know, you talk to a deer hunter and they'd be like, man, you're going out when the rain is coming in sideways and it's cold and it's miserable, and you got to hump all that stuff in, and you're just sitting there hoping that you can pull a shot. Like, you guys are crazy. And I'm like, I
love it.
Yeah, personally.
Well, I think you got to be a little bit crazy in order to do it. But you know what, Core buddy, we're at that hour mark, and I don't think we need to go over that hour mark.
We're at Corey's limit.
I didn't even have to turn on flip the lights at all.
You didn't have to give the sign. Sign.
I was just texting the wife being like, come upstairs and tell me I have to take care of the boys.
I cannot count the amount of times that your name has been mentioned on episodes, Corey.
That's either a good thing or a bad thing, buddy.
It's a little bit of both, buddy.
We're at that hour. Corey's tapped out. We're done.
Yeah, Corey's tuned us out at this point, so we better.
I think
end
in
it.
fairness, next to Jeff Coates, I think your name runs second for mentioned the most in our episodes.
I would
I
say so.
appreciate it, boys. That's
shit you
why
not.
there's such love for all of us, you know. And
Yeah,
and I know
absolutely,
me and
buddy.
Damien, we've been talking. We're going to be meeting up this season, doing some stuff together, and
Absolutely.
sure Phil's going to be tagging along there too, holding all our gear for us.
Yeah.
Well, I have to come down and shoot a sub gauge duck hunt.
Yeah,
I
we
will-
got we
Twist
really
the arm.
do we really do have to put a little bit more effort into I love meeting up with new people and hanging out with new people, but I really do have to put an effort into spending some time with some old friends that I haven't had a chance to hunt with in a while. So Core, I'm coming down, buddy. Like I'm coming down. So we'll have a blast, and Philly, usually if I can give Philly a couple weeks notice, just so that he can massage his schedule, he's usually down to travel too. So we'll come down and we'll tell a bunch of lies, smoke some cigars, and shoot some birds.
And we could even put something together around my parts.
Yeah.
Shoot some.
Well, that's a
corn
bit of a
guzzlers.
yeah, that's a bit of a hike for Corey, but we'd have to make it.
You're what? You're north of GTA?
I'm Port Perry, so I'm actually Corey's closer to me than Damien is.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I thought
nothing.
I was closer to you than
Yeah,
what Corey
Cambridge
was.
is fuck all.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then we'll totally do it. We'll crash at Phil's.
Yeah, that's space.
Perfect. You
I have a
guys can
fire
crash
pit in
them
the
up.
backyard. We can burn some shit.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, boys. Corey, buddy.
All right, gentlemen.
Like I said, man, it's been way too long since we've had you on, and I appreciate you coming on. We tried to get you on there a couple weeks ago, and you were like, "Dude, I'm going out to dinner," and that was a pretty short return on that,
dude,
too.
I'm going to the hospital. My wife's in labor.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to come on, but I'm gonna go have a baby right now. So, no, buddy,
That
I
would've been a great
appreciate it.
episode, though.
It
I
would
would
have
have been
been.
coming to you live from the hospital. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so
That would have
awesome.
been fucking epic.
She
Yeah.
would have fucking hated. She's never met me.
Like
she would
on your
hate
phone.
me.
Hey, look at my son. He's 3 minutes old.
She would hate me before she even met me.
It'd be perfect.
That's a new
Perfect.
level for me. That's a
Yeah,
new
it
level.
is, buddy. It is. Yeah.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks so much, Core, for coming on. Phil, to you, buddy.
Absolute pleasure as always, Corey. Like we've known each other for a number of years, and again, hopefully we can. I really want to get together for a hunt this fall, dude. And just get out
Make
like
that
you,
happen.
us. I know Damien's got a new baby toy on the way. Us and would love to see Andy again and
Yeah,
shoot
of
the
course.
baby guns and maybe shoot some big ducks in small water with small guns.
There you go.
Take
I've got it
a
already
couple
planned
pictures
for
with
you.
the old Polaroid. Who knows?
Awesome.
Don't worry, boys. I got it all planned out. We will see you shortly.
Awesome. Corey, to you, man. Last words.
Thanks
Peace.
as always, boys. It's always a
Awesome.
pleasure.
Awesome.
Later.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Union 0430. We will never pretend to be someone we're not. We're just a bunch of dudes that love one another's company and love talking about shooting birds in the fucking face. Stop being douchebags to one another. Be nice to one another. Big love. Until next week.